Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back finally to another TheeSportsScoop podcast. We did post another video before this, and that was our Kenny Pickett versus Mitchell Trubisky deliberation. I was not on that, but Dylan was. And today we're finally back with another podcast. Definitely, we've been doing a lot more of these where we can get us several topics out to you guys, post the clips as well. So, we get a ton of content out of them. But today, as you saw, we have a lot on the slate for you guys. So welcome back to TheeSportsScoop podcast. Today, we have several topics. We're going to be doing our quarterback rankings going into the 2022 NFL season, our opinions on the rookie class, kind of just rounding out the draft, our opinions on the New Orleans Saints and if they may be quietly making a playoff roster, Trey Lance year 2 preview, going over some of what we've seen from him in OTAs, going over the NFC East, who's going to win it this year. No team has ever won it back-to-back, at least in the recent time. Going over some of the AFC North, previewing them, the stack division, going to next season, and then finally giving you guys some rookie versus non-rookie quarterback battles that we see, obviously, because it was a very interesting quarterback class. So without further ado, thank you guys so much for listening. If you're listening to this on a podcast platform, make sure you guys drop a comment or whatever. I'm not very used to it. Give us 5 stars. And if you are watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. And if I'm a little rusty, it's been a couple weeks, but we're finally back. So make sure you guys strap in. Let's get it. All right. So Dylan, first thing we're going to talk about, and this is something that is probably the most overdone thing on sport, actually NFL media. And that's just top 10 quarterback rankings, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. We're going to go over tier lists today. So obviously going to this season, we have now more expectations. We've seen younger quarterbacks climb the ranks. Herbert. I was about to say Tua. You wish I would say that. Herbert, Burrow. We've seen a lot of those guys. Obviously, Mahomes is there. Kyler Murray, we're a little bit iffy about. This is a very general question, Dylan. I'm going to be very impressed if you can answer this. But kind of when you're looking at next season, what are some of your tiers? If you want to go over the top tier, bottom tier, what do you find interesting about how are you going to put and class some of these quarterbacks going into this season?
All right, let's go for it. So first things first, we're going to go with the best of the best. And I've got a group of 4 quarterbacks that I can classify as the best of the best. Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Tom Brady. Those are the best of the best. I think we can agree on that.
Okay, good. Right.
Then I've got the elite group. And this is a bigger group. I've got Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, Matthew Stafford, Russell Wilson, and Dak Prescott.
Not putting Dak there. See, I'm not going to put Dak.
I put Dak here.
And again, that probably is me having some kind of bias, but I really, really do not think Dak's there. And I think if you're putting Dak there, I think you need to put Kyler there, and I don't think either of them deserve it.
That's where my next point is, and there's the next category will be, this is a smaller one.
Promising.
No, it's not promising. The next one, it's franchise guys. Surely franchise guys, not young guys that can turn into franchise guys. People that we know are franchise guys. That's Kyler Murray, Derek Carr, and it hurts me to put him in that category because I think he can be better, but I'm not quite comfortable enough to put him in the elite category with the other guys. But that's Kyler Murray, Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, and Ryan Tannehill. I know he's having his issues in Tennessee with Malik Willis potentially taking his job, but I'm going to still put him in that category.
Here's what I'll say. I think, this is where I switch from yours. I think Derek Carr is an elite category. I think he will be at least this year. Maybe, I guess you can argue for him being in the lower category. I think he will be this year. Yeah, I agree. But the thing with Kyler is I think he's very unique in this group because I think you can argue for the fact, and I technically can't really argue against saying he's not a franchise guy, but I do think he may not be.
Well, he might leave Arizona.
Right, exactly. Here's what did you say, Matt Ryan?
I have I should have said Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan.
You can still put Matt Ryan.
Yeah, Carson Matt Ryan is in that category. No, Carson Wentz. No.
Do you think, and this might be a hot take, do you think Baker should be in the franchise guy category?
If his situation was cleared up, I'd say yes, but it's just gone, unfortunately for him, it hasn't gone well. And it's the same thing with Jimmy Garoppolo. I think I'd have probably in the next tier Garoppolo, but I think Mayfield's in that tier.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I think here's the thing with Baker. Again, we don't know. He's opting out of optional OTAs as expected. I definitely do think you can put an argument for him being in that franchise guy category. And you said you don't have him, Dylan, in
I
there?
don't have him quite there.
Explain why quickly, briefly.
Because last season, and I know he was on a torn labrum, he was playing injured, but the Cleveland Browns had an incredible team. There was no excuse for them not to be making the playoffs. And whether it be his fault or not, because there was obviously a multitude of problems, they're relying on him to get them there. Their team wasn't bad. He couldn't do it. So they're pushing him out. He's not a starting quarterback at the moment. So, and the fact that no one's really looking to bring him into their roster when there are teams that need to shows that I don't think he's quite the franchise guy.
Yeah. Again, I think you would have to track back 2 years to put an argument in for him being a franchise guy, but that I definitely kind of agree with the fact. But I think, and again, for Baker, the whole thing for me is we've seen he has the traits, and we've seen definitely he's a guy who you need to put talent around him. So the whole thing for me is this year with obviously what they've done in the offseason, and obviously say you're excluding Deshaun Watson from that, I think he could succeed this year. But no Brown fan, NFL fan is saying give Baker a chance because you have Deshaun. Although I doubt we'll be seeing him playing because Deshaun is is suspended for I'm not sure how many games it is.
Most likely going to be suspended up until I believe week 4, but it's still a very open case. So
so again, and that's big in a very, very tough division, tough conference. That's big. Missing your starting guy or missing Deshaun level guy for 4 weeks is going to be huge. But again, we're getting on a bit of a tangent there. So continue with your rankings.
So next is a group that I like to call the unproven yet proven category.
Okay.
So if that confuses you, it's guys that I think they can reach the next level, but they haven't quite yet, but they've proven that they can play in the NFL at a level that's not killing their team. And this is a very small category. And that would be Jalen Hurts, Mac Jones, and Tua Tagovailoa. That would be the unproven.
Don't put in Tua. Don't sneak into Dylan.
No, that's the unproven yet proven category.
No, it's not. I think it's not, Dylan. Tua's not in that category. He's not.
How is he not in that category?
If you're putting him in there, Daniel Jones has to be in there.
Daniel Jones has proven that he can lead a team to 2 straight 4-13, 5-13 seasons. Tua Tagovailoa.
First of all, Tua had much more better coaching. Much more.
Better coaching?
Yes, he had Brian Flores.
Brian Flores was an excellent defensive coach, but he couldn't manage a high school offense.
Dylan, you can't put Tua in there.
I'm putting Tua in there because you can discredit me and you could say all you want about Tua not living up to the 5th overall pick, but he is serviceable.
But there's a big difference between proven and serviceable is different.
Proven that he can be serviceable.
But I don't think he's proven he can be serviceable. I think he's been bailed out several times.
Bailed out? He bailed the team out several times.
No, Dylan.
Against Arizona in the first season they played, against Los Angeles in the first season they played, last season against the Jets, last season against Carolina, he was excellent. But we're getting off topic again, though. My reasoning that
I think it's important when we're talking about quarterback tiers or replacing guys. I think it's important to talk about them and putting Tua in the proven. Tua is not proven.
Tua is proven but unproven. I don't think you understand my category.
Okay, well.
The proven but unproven is guys Mac Jones, who has proven he can play for the Patriots, but unproven in the fact that he isn't elite yet. So he can definitely up his play to a level that he can get up in the franchise group and the elite group. Same goes for Jalen Hurts. He played with the Philadelphia Eagles. He had a lot of upside, and he showed that he has made some mistakes, and I think he can correct that. He's proven that he can be the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles without ruining them, but I think there's a lot more he can prove to put him in that elite tier. Tua Tagovailoa has proven that he can be the quarterback of the Dolphins and not tank the team. And this year, I believe he's going to prove that he can go into that franchise category.
But this is tiers before the season where we have them. That's why with Derek Carr, you don't have him in elite yet. Although I do still think you can argue for him elite. I think he's not there yet because of Devontae Adams. And he probably will be because of Devontae Adams.
Before the season, if we're just going to go with tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, it's kind of just redundant. I want to put my own spin on it.
No, and I'm understanding it, but there is no way that Tua has proven in any way that he just hasn't. He was injured last year.
Last year when he played, he was not bad.
No, and I'm not saying he was bad. Although I think
in his rookie year when he played, he was not bad.
No, his rookie year he was pretty bad.
He wasn't bad. He wasn't great by any means, but he wasn't bad.
And he wasn't. But saying good, like we need to have very, very rigid boundaries to where we think. And I think when you look at him this past year, I don't think you can contribute. You can't look at those wins and be like, oh, that was Tua.
I think there's three wins from last season that I'm going to say was three. I'm going to give you three.
And I think you can say there's 3 wins that Daniel Jones had. So if you're not having Daniel Jones there.
Daniel Jones only won. Did the Giants win 5 games last year? Daniel Jones, I think, only played in 4 of them. I might be wrong though.
No, but I'm saying kind of total. So give Daniel Jones the year before as well.
I'm not even really. I'm not even really going off of QB wins as the reason that I think Tua is in this category. I'm going off the fact that he showed promise, and that's very true. He did show promise, especially given the terrible offensive coordinator system, the terrible offensive line, and the lack of a running game. He showed the ability to be able to manage a playbook that was definitely not suited for him and help the team do as much as they can with the cancerous offensive line. So for that reason, and for the reason I might be a little bit biased, but for the reason that I truly do believe in his potential, his hip injury is completely gone, to improve his arm strength, his accuracy is top tier. I think he's going to be completely ready to challenge with the Dolphins for a playoff spot. But you're going off for what he's shown. Unproven but proven, because he's proven he can play for the Dolphins and win games and be able to function in the offense, but he's unproven in the fact that he can't quite be elite yet.
But here's where I think you have a discrepancy, and that's where you say Tua's wins, say you're not contributing, you're not talking about the wins. I think that's the only viable argument you can have. That's the only thing Dolphins can grasp to say, look, this guy can be our quarterback. So discrediting that is just hurting your argument. You didn't discredit that. I'm not sure what you said. I was waiting for you to finish.
I said I'm not completely going off wins, and winning is completely important. I think Tua Tagovailoa.
But you said basing what we're talking about on quarterback wins, I think the only thing Tua really has going for him is the fact that the Dolphins have won games.
Tua's short ball accuracy is better than I think 95% of the quarterbacks in the league. I think we can.
And that's just not true.
It is.
No,
he had a better completion percentage than
because that's all he throws.
No.
And Dylan, and I'm not saying that that's because the offensive line, because it was bad, but all they did was RPOs,
they ran a lot of RPO and play action, but they ran a lot of RPO and play action because the offensive line won, and because Jalen Waddle was functioning perfectly. So why would they change it?
Yeah, but Dylan, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill next year, if you want to take that step, which I don't know is possible with Tua, from what you were this year to playoffs, you need to have a deep ball. And I think unfortunately for Tua,
I think we have.
You've put him in a system, and I think this was high. And I'll get my rant in, but I think what Tua has shown is I can throw the ball short, I can release it in a second, and I can, have a good run. I can facilitate the ball. I don't think he's proven he has a deep ball. I don't think he's proven he has deep ball accuracy. I don't think he's proven I will say his deep ball accuracy, when we've seen it, the 3 times we've seen it, has been good. I think Tua is a very accurate
25 passes over 20 yards less.
Exactly. So not many, right?
It's not many, but we're
in agreement in that. Yeah, right. Well, whatever. It's exaggeration. I do think Tua is an accurate quarterback. I won't say that. I definitely think Tua has accuracy. I don't think he has arm strength. I don't think he has arm power. And I think what all Dolphins fans have been saying is, this definitely is a casual take. And I know, Dylan, you're going to think it's a casual take, but I think it needs to be looked at. And I think it's a valid point, is he doesn't have the arm strength. And we saw that. We saw that in the clip that the Dolphins posted. Oh, Tua bomb. It was like a punt. It was in the air for way too long. It was wobbly and it was behind.
It was a terrible social media promotion, but matters.
And I do think that, are we dwelling on it a little bit too much? Yes. But the fact that the Dolphins posted that, maybe, and again, this is all speculation, maybe they just posted the wrong one and he maybe had an accurate pass. I'm not denying that. But I do think that there is some validity to the fact that he simply doesn't have the deep ball. And not validity. We know he doesn't have the deep ball. But I'm thinking going to next year, and again, this is the casual take that all people who are opposing the Dolphins are saying, is I don't think he's going to fit this new Legion of Zoom offense. And look, I do think he can check the ball down, and I think that they'll still be great at that. But I think this team will be at its most lethal with a quarterback who can throw it deep.
So what you've just compiled is why he's proven from last year. He's proven that he can be that check down guy. Now
but I don't think that that's a viable option for many years. For
and
like I don't think that's a good scheme.
That's your own opinion, and I think if they kept him as the same player he was last year, which I don't think he will be, I think he's going to be greatly improved this year, mostly because of offensive scheming and offensive line, but also because his hip injury's gone. We've seen him in offseason; he's been able to throw a lot farther than before. His footwork is outstanding, and I just think we're going to see a lot of general physical improvement on his end. I've been tracking his progress very, very closely, as a Dolphins fan would be. And I am seeing the throws that he's able to make. He is able to throw the ball a little bit faster than he was last season, a little bit deeper than he was last season. The arc on the deep balls, the accuracy on the deep balls has always been there, and the velocity has always been a little bit of an issue. This year, I think we're going to see him be able to make those throws a little bit more comfortably. I'm not going to be able to say that he has a Justin Herbert type arm, because it's just not true, but I think we're going to be able to see a little bit of the stigma that we've been seeing over the course of his career taken away. That is where I'm going with it.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's finish off the tier list.
Then we've got, I'm just going to class all these guys together, and it might not be fair, but I'm going to go with the 2021 rookies, and other than Mac Jones, and that's Davis Mills, Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, and Justin Fields. I'm going to leave Trey Lance out of this category just because we haven't seen enough of him. I'm not even going to put Trey Lance in here because we haven't seen enough of him.
And so let's get some explanation on the tier.
The tier is they all had, other than Davis Mills, and I like Davis Mills,
but I still think he needs to be in this.
I don't think Davis Mills is going to be helped enough in Houston. I think if Davis Mills was on the Jets or the Jaguars, he would be excellent.
I think it'll be underrated. I think Mechie and Brandon Cooks and Brevin Jordan and Nico Collins
no O-line and no run game.
Yeah. I think they missed out greatly. Oh, no, sorry. They got Dameon Pierce. I do think they could have a run game. Dameon Pierce is a very good running back.
It's going to be Marlon Mack in week 1, and that's going to be an issue.
But Marlon Mack's not bad.
Marlon Mack has been out for the last 2 seasons.
But
I'm putting Davis Mills in this place and Trevor Lawrence in this place due to the systems they were in last year. Whether or not it's fair to Davis Mills to put him in this category because he was better than all these guys last year, I don't really know if it's fair. But just based on the college level that they played at, I don't think he's able to sustain it. It's probably not fair, but it is where I'm going to go with it. Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, they were all bad last year. Straight up bad. There's no...
Okay. And
Zach Wilson improved, but he was bad.
Okay, Dylan, but I really think you need to take perspective. If you're saying they're bad, then Tua was bad his rookie year.
No, Tua was better than all these guys clearly.
Yeah, he wasn't, Dylan.
He was.
And
other than maybe
all these
Mills.
quarterbacks didn't have a quarterback to fall behind, a quarterback to hold their hand. And I know that as much as you
Justin
hate
Fields
that argument.
did.
No, he didn't. Justin Fields was put in over.
So was Tua.
Yeah, but Tua ended up then getting his hand held. Justin Fields in no way was it as much.
But either way, these rookie quarterbacks did not have as good statistical seasons, or in terms of playing style, were not as good as Tua.
Also, first of all, look at the Bears' offense. Horrendous.
Their offensive line was better than Miami's.
The Bears' offensive line is still poor.
Yeah, but it was much better than Miami's. And
but by much better, you're saying much better. Say Miami Dolphins had the 31st best offensive line. The Bears had like the 28th.
Yeah, sure. But Zach Wilson had a terrible, terrible, terrible start to the year. And as he improved, he still wasn't playing as well as Tua. So
I think he wasn't.
I've had this argument with Serge, another member of our channel, a lot of times. And the end of the season, statistically, and at least the way I like to watch quarterbacks play, I liked how Tua was playing better, and statistically Tua had a better end to the year. Trevor Lawrence didn't throw a touchdown for like 7 straight weeks.
Trevor Lawrence was under, and Trevor Lawrence's year kind of went under the radar. Not a lot of people were talking about how much hype he got. Although I think this year he'll bounce back. I think this year
I agree. I think having Doug Peterson instead of Urban Meyer is going to pay dividends.
And as much as I don't think they addressed the wide receiver one, I think still having a plethora of above average guys will definitely help him.
Yes, absolutely. Moving into the next category, if that's all right. We are going to go with the stopgaps. And this isn't anything on them. I respect a couple of these guys. I'm not big on. But they're not franchise options, but they're capable of handling the team. So this is where Jalen Hurts and Tua and Mac Jones would be if I didn't think they had that untapped potential that we could see them sky up into the next level. This is the Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, and Mitchell Trubisky I'm going to put in here.
See, I do think that Jared Goff deserves to be a tier higher. I think Jared Goff is one of the most respectable. I think Jared Goff is one of the most hated on, but I think people are so quick to say he's awful. Where I think Jared Goff 100% deserves, and this is why I don't think the Lions took a quarterback. I think Jared Goff 100% deserves to get a second year in Detroit. And obviously the record doesn't reflect that, but I think we saw that on the Rams, like, surround this guy with good players.
I think Jared Goff can be good, but I don't think the Lions are looking at him that way. I don't think the Lions are looking at him and seeing.
I don't think they were looking at him like that, and I think they might be now.
Who knows? It's interesting. I don't dislike Jared Goff, but I see him as a stopgap right now. And I'm actually
I mean, at the end of the day, he probably
I'm actually going to make a quick revision. I'm going to put. This is tough because I'm thinking about it now. There's a couple quarterbacks left on my list, and I don't know where to put Daniel Jones. And
he's a proven, not proven.
That's where I'm tending to look at him, but he's also not proven. But
I don't think I'm a Giants fan. I'm kind of waiting for the time for Daniel Jones to kind of not be the guy.
He's a tough one to grade because. Yeah. Oh, and I'm also going to put Jameis Winston in the stopgaps. That's another one.
I think Jameis Winston is in the franchise. Sorry, I would put Jameis Winston 2 categories higher. I think Jameis Winston is in the franchise, guys. I think the Saints could be very successful this year with Jameis Winston at the helm.
I think they can be very successful, but it won't be because of Jameis Winston. It'll be maybe not even in spite of Jameis Winston, but he's a stopgap. He is capable of keeping the team afloat.
I think he's able of winning, and we saw that last year. We saw what they did with him and without him, and it was pretty clear.
I'm not convinced of him with Dennis Allen as the coach instead of Sean Payton, because Sean Payton can make a paper bag look good at QB. Yeah,
I think that's true. Yeah.
But it couldn't make Ian Book look good, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, though. So I'm going to add Daniel Jones to unproven/proven, because I think that's the correct category to have him in. But it's difficult to put him there, but it's the only one that really fits him. And then I'm going to have Jameis in stopgaps. And the last one I'm going to have in the stopgap category is going to be a current backup, and that's Teddy Bridgewater. I think he's definitely capable of being a stopgap.
Yeah.
And then the last category, and this is just
where's Mariota?
I'm not going to go into all the quarterbacks that are backups, but I'm going to go into
where's Mariota?
Mariota is going to be in this category.
Oh.
And I like Mariota, but he's not a franchise guy.
Okay.
And this is guys that are not ready to start for teams this year. That whatever team they start on, they're not going to compete. They are not going to do well. And I'm not going to go into every backup quarterback that's on the list, but I'm also not going to exclude some guys. So there's some guys I'm going to just mention briefly. It's not really too important. And that is all the rookies, every single one of them.
Okay.
Kenny Pickett, Matt Corral, Desmond Ridder, Sam Howell, Malik Willis, Marcus Mariota.
Wow.
Sam Darnold. Mm-hmm. Gardner Minshew, just putting some guys out there. Jacoby Brissett, Tyrod Taylor, Joe Flacco, and then the last one, Drew Lock, Geno Smith. And the last one I'm going to put in here, and I think this is where we're going to have a huge disagreement. It's Trey Lance. I am not.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I am not sold on him. And apologies, I forgot about Jimmy Garoppolo. He is also in the stopgap category. Trey Lance. You know what? No, that's not fair to Trey Lance. I'm going to put him in the rookie tier as well. That's not fair to Trey Lance.
I definitely think Trey Lance is ready to start. I think Trey Lance could be one of the most explosive guys this year.
I'm not sold on Trey Lance, and I know he can be definitely explosive, but we didn't see enough of him. The coaches don't seem so sure on him. They might not be starting.
The players are sold this year also.
Players might be sold, but we've been hearing reports from inside. I don't know how much that really matters. It might be all fake, but a lot of stigma with Trey Lance, and I didn't love him coming out of college. So he's someone we're yet to see.
Yeah.
And then Jordan Love, also someone we're yet to see. That was the last guy I was going to talk about. So that's my QBs.
All right. I think that's where we'll end it. But let us know your guys' QBs down below. But we'll move on, Dylan. So we were just again, rookies were mentioned there. Just give me some of your takes on the rookie classes here, whether it be positions, receivers, best fits. I think a great way to start would be players. Let's go to that first. Who are some of the players? What rookies do you think are in the best situations and why? Give me one. We can go one and one and one.
I'm gonna say the rookie that is in the best situation. I'm just gonna go one straight off the top of the head is Kayvon Thibodeau.
Yeah,
he is in New York City, who is going to be the best defensive end that this city has seen since Michael Strahan, and he's going to be absolutely phenomenal. And everyone knows it. And everyone who didn't draft him is banging their heads on the wall, other than the Lions, because I think Aiden Hutchinson's excellent as well.
Yeah.
And they're going to plead with the draft gods that another guy like him comes up in the upcoming draft process. Because I guarantee you, while the Giants might fly up the standings with Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal, we're going to see the Jacksonville Jaguars, Houston Texans, Detroit Lions. The Jets will be probably mid-range at some point, but we're going to see the first three teams who passed on Thibodeau dwelling in the bottom again.
Yeah. I honestly couldn't agree more. I think the fact that not only letting Thibodeau, but kind of talking about that Giants draft class, letting Thibodeau and Evan Neal fall to 5 and 7, I think were huge mistakes. And as a Giants fan, obviously I couldn't be more excited. Like that was literally the ideal draft class. If you're a Giants fan, getting a massive imposing offensive tackle and a quick, really, really, really versatile and very, very fast off the line edge. And I think Thibodeau should have been the number 1 overall pick. I think, the Trayvon Walker pick, which we'll get into, I just don't understand it. And I think when we talk about worse situations, I think he's one of those names that'll be in there. But again, I think letting Thibodeau fall to the Giants was a huge mistake. And I think this guy will be a fantastic edge rusher. Obviously, it's only kind of been him against mannequins in practice. So we're yet to see, at least the film's not out yet, but we're yet to see
first OTA was actually last week. They had 7-on-7s and 11-on-11s. I do not think Thibodeau participated in the 11s.
Yeah, but he did in the 7s.
I believe so.
Yeah, so
from what I heard, I might be wrong though.
Yeah, I'll have to go watch that, but I'm not sure if any of the.
I don't think it's open to be watched. I think it's just reported.
Yeah. So again, that's a big thing. Obviously, we'll see it, but I think that the situation wise, I think fits perfectly because I think it's now a defensive front that was a 3-4 that I think will be switched to a 4-3 because of the personnel they have.
Yeah.
Obviously getting Thibodeau. And again, I just think the Giants had a fantastic draft. I think Wan'Dale Robinson was a great pick in the second round. Although I'll say I thought he was going to be a guy based on the recent media that kind of came around before he was drafted that he would fall into that 3rd, 4th round. But I love the pick in the second round. It may have not been the best value pick, but I think he's a fantastic player. And again, we kind of have 2 Kadarius Tonys now. Him and Wan'Dale Robinson are kind of like the poor man's Waddle and Tyreek Hill. So I'm a huge fan of that duo. We have Kenny Golladay. We kind of have all the size receivers we need, but I'll go into one of my best rookie fits, and I'm going to go Christian Watson to the Packers. I think where a lot of the misconception might come in, and I might be wrong, honestly. I think if Christian Watson is to not succeed, it will be because he was thrown into the wide receiver 1 role coming out of North Dakota, being a 2nd-round pick. But I think the reason he will succeed is because he was thrown into the wide receiver 1 role. And I think he will immediately be an impact. And don't sleep on Romeo Doubs. So they drafted out of Nevada. I think he's a very, very good underrated receiver prospect that they got. And again, then you have Amari Rodgers in the slot. I think this is in no way Devontae Adams, but I do think Christian Watson, with the body he has, I think he can be an underrated guy to use on sweeps, be a versatile guy who can move across the line of scrimmage. I think it was just a very, very smart selection. And again, I think they were definitely a team who would have liked to see one of the top guys, like maybe a Treylon Burks, fall, but I think they found a gem in Christian Watson. When you look at physical attributes of him, doesn't get much better. Fast, big, good in the air. And they needed that true wide receiver 1. And he kind of has all those traits that exemplify that. Will he be a wide receiver 1? I don't know, but I do think, and again, I would assume to be majority, I do think him going to that wide receiver 1 role immediately will impact him well. Big fan of Christian Watson. I love the fit there.
I'm not a big fan of Christian Watson, and I don't think there would be many teams that will be able to really get out of him what he has in terms of physicality and in terms of just raw traits. But I think the Packers is definitely the number one fit. So I think that pick, especially getting him in the second round, is incredibly impressive.
Yeah. Dylan, you want to each give one more best rookie situations? Then we'll move on.
Yeah, let's go one more each. And I'm going to give you, because I'm going to say, I'll give you a second round pick. I'm going to give you Andrew Booth.
Okay, right.
To the Minnesota Vikings. They needed that so badly. Pat Pete was good for another year, I guess, but he can't be a cornerback one anymore. And Andrew Booth, a second round pick, I think is going to end up being their cornerback one this season. Mm-hmm. They traded down with the Detroit Lions, who ended up taking Jameson Williams, which could bite them in the head for the next couple of years. But I think Andrew Booth is an excellent player. I think he could have been middle to earlier first round, like top 10 to 20 range. I wouldn't have been surprised. And the fact that they fell that far, I don't really understand why. The Vikings to be able to take him, I think it is going to be imperative that he'll be a danger to passes.
Yeah, I think it was a great pick. You look at the Vikings draft. And again, it was kind of the opposite. Like I thought Lewis Cine was a reach. Although I really like Lewis Cine, and definitely the more the pick sat with me, I liked it more. But he was a guy who we were not expecting to go in the first round, because you don't, safety obviously is in a huge position. They traded down massively, so you wouldn't think they would settle for a safety. I thought Andrew Booth would be the pick there, but we saw with a ton of teams like the Eagles, like you would think they would take Nakobe Dean in that with one of their first round picks, and they end up getting him in the third. So that's why this draft was crazy. But I think Andrew Booth and Dylan, something we did when, I'm pretty sure the last video we recorded actually had Andrew Booth on the thumbnail, the biggest draft steals. And I think Andrew Booth 100% was one of those. I think the technique this guy has, he has the ability to be a cornerback one. I think he has the ability to be a cornerback one immediately. I think that was the difference with this cornerback class. I think the top four guys, Garner, McDuffie, Andrew Booth, and Derek Stingley all have the potential to be immediate day one starters at that cornerback one role. And I think Andrew Booth, definitely a guy who was slept on. There's a lot of guys taking over him, a lot of corners taking over him. So I think he's going to carry that chip on his shoulder. And I'm scared to see him on the Vikings. I think he'll be the next kind of Xavier Rhodes like guy. But yeah, so one more of the best situations. I don't want to go another secondary player. I really just think Aiden Hutchinson on the Lions.
Yeah, it's kind of a match made in heaven. I
think this guy's a lock to be immediately impactful. And I don't think we say that a lot about rookies, especially edge rushers, because of how kind of volatile the production can be for rookies. But staying in Detroit, staying in Michigan, I think he'll be great. And I think the defense they run, kind of that big buff front, I think Aiden Hutchinson will fit in perfectly into that. I'm a massive fan of the pick. And I think for the Lions, they took the right pick. They didn't hesitate. I think the last 2 years, they've kind of gone best player available and hit on both of them. And I'm going to be very excited to see some Aiden Hutchinson, Penei Sewell, OTA stuff if we get it. But I just think it was I just think it was a fantastic selection and then they went and got Zach Pascal, who I wasn't a massive fan of out of Kentucky.
I like Pascal. It's Josh Pascal.
Josh Pascal, excuse me, not Zach Pascal. He's a wide receiver. I just think the need wasn't another edge, and there were a lot of good players on the board. And Josh Pascal to me was not up there in terms of some of the guys I had. But I think Aiden Hutchinson, I think he'll transfer immediately.
Yes,
I think that skill set will transfer immediately. He looks good in that blue for the Lions. I think it was a fantastic fit. Yeah. But then we can go over one, we can do two, kind of whatever we want. What are some of your worst rookie situations?
Let's just go one here, and I'm going to start it with Chris Olave.
Oh.
And I really like Chris Olave.
I do not agree with that.
I really like Chris Olave, and I think he can be a burner for the Saints, and I think that's what they're going to confine him into being. But I don't think that's the best that he can be. I think he can be so much more than a burner. And I think with the wide receiver room that the Saints have, with Landry, Michael Thomas, Marquez Callaway, and Chris Olave, they're going to confine him to one thing. Because Michael Thomas is the short guy. The big short guy, the short route guy. Jarvis Landry could be the yak guy, the mid-range guy. Marquez Callaway can catch anything pretty much. And they're going to confine Chris Olave to running go routes. And that is just not going to be able to get the full sweep of his talent, which I believe is so much more than just that. That's where I'm going with this. I think he's a great player. I think he can do great things for the Saints. I just think if he was drafted by the Washington Commanders or the Philadelphia Eagles or the Detroit Lions, I think he would have had a bit more production for them.
I actually don't disagree with that. I think you explained that well, but I think him being confined to a more specific role for the Saints will be better overall. But
maybe for the team, but not for him.
But Dylan, I think, what do you think he has to offer more than? And I agree. I don't think they should confine him to a deep route blazer, but I think that's what he was best at. So why not keep it there?
But he was also an incredibly good route runner. So
route running very much goes hand in hand with being able to get deep.
Being able to get deep, yes, but he was a great intermediate route runner, and he was great on toe taps. He was great possession catcher, and I think just having him as one-dimensional receiver will hurt his career. It'll help the Saints, and it is a good pick for the Saints, but it will hurt his career.
Okay. So one of my worst fits is Cole Strange. No, I'm joking. I'm not going to go for the easy, obvious one. It's definitely one that's tough.
I don't think Cole Strange is going to be all that bad, but obviously not the pick.
I think this is a tough one. Because it was overall a very good kind of draft. I think Trayvon Walker, actually.
Trayvon Walker.
I just think he's going to be Kayvon Chason. Like I
can't get that image out of my head either.
I think that's just going to be the impact he has. Like I think
he'll be better, but like
marginally better. But I think he'll just go in and it'll be like I just don't understand, and I never will. I just don't get the let's take Trayvon Walker #1 overall. I just don't get it, and I don't think that it was what he brings to the table is what they needed. I think they needed a Kayvon Thibodeau, Aiden Hutchinson, 10+ sack season kind of guy. And I don't think Trayvon Walker has that.
They were playing as if they were a playoff team. They were playing as if we can get this guy to be amazing. We can win the Super Bowl. But where they think he has the highest ceiling, where I think they're wrong, they can't afford to be making that pick. They need to be taking the guy that they know is going to be able to push their franchise in the right direction. And Trayvon Walker, I love the Kayvon Chason comparison, not just because they're Jaguars, but because Kayvon Chason came in and he was so versatile. He could play, he could drop back into coverage, but he could also rush the quarterback. But his production in college wasn't that great. So we're looking at Trayvon Walker, and I'm kind of seeing the same thing. Obviously, his combine pushes him a little bit higher in terms of the eye of the fans, and his production in college was better than Chason, and I think he'll be better. But why would you repeat the same thing?
I know. It's just something where you either agree with it or you don't. Like, I will never come around to taking Trayvon Walker at 1, and I'm honestly disappointed as an NFL fan that we have to look back to one of the years that we had a draft and Trayvon Walker is the #1 overall pick.
I'm upset for Trevor Lawrence. So
yeah, and it's also that, I just think it just wasn't the right pick. But that's kind of where we're at with that. So we'll wrap up kind of our rookie. We're getting into rookie quarterbacks later. We'll wrap up kind of this part of the section with who do you think the offensive rookie of the year and defensive rookie of the year will be?
The offensive rookie of the year this season is going to be Jameson Williams.
Okay.
Because I think he is
I
think he is going to be fantastic. I think him, Ross St. Brown, and DJ Chark are going to end up being a top 10 wide receiver trio in the NFL. And I think he is going to challenge, if not beat, Jalen Waddle's rookie reception record.
Okay.
I think he's going to be in the middle of the field like Waddle was last year, getting short balls, while St. Brown and Chark are the deep threats, and I think he is going to thrive at it. And I know Jameson Williams was a great deep threat in college, but I think he's more than that.
Okay.
And my defensive rookie of the year, the pick is going to be, and I'm tempted to just say Kayvon Thibodeau because it's probably the right pick. But I'm going to say Kayvon Thibodeau. It's my pick. It's the right pick.
Okay. Defensive rookie of the year, Kayvon Thibodeau. Any explanation you want there?
he's the I had Aiden Hutchinson as the better player on the board, but I think Kayvon Thibodeau fitting with the Giants is better than Aiden Hutchinson fitting with the Lions. Thibodeau is also more marketable. I think he's more likely to win the award. And I just think people are going to be stunned by what they see. I don't think people realize how explosive he is, how athletic he is, and how much production he had at Oregon. I don't think people realize that. And just that transferring that into a big market team is going to be pretty much defensive rookie of the year written all over it.
Yeah, so I think, for me, I think it'll be a running back, and it goes down to who. And I think it will be Breece Hall from the New York Jets will be the offensive rookie of the year.
Go ahead.
No. You can go first.
I like Breece Hall, and I think it's a good pick for the Jets. But if a running back's going to win offensive rookie of the year, that team better make the playoffs. The Jets aren't going to be there.
I don't know if they have to. I wouldn't say that. I just think Breece Hall is put into such a good, I think, again, if this team pans out, which I do think they can make the playoffs, this offensive line is stacked. Running to the left side, running to the left side all day. Running to Mekhi Becton and AVT all day. I think Breece Hall, first of all, is an angry runner, a strong runner. He's a very built running back, kind of has that Saquon Barkley-like size, although very few have that, and he's not quite there yet. But I think this is a bruising back, and I think Michael Carter will only help him. I think Breece Hall will be a touchdown machine for the New York Jets, where I think they lacked a lot of it last year, is being able to pound it in with the running back. And I think, we saw it so much against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They randomly did that sneak that lost them the game. I think they've been missing a true back who they can just hand the ball off to in stressful situations. I think Breece Hall will 150% be the guy who they can just hand it off to. But now we'll move into my defensive rookie of the year. And this is definitely a tough one, because I think you kind of look at the edges. You're like, oh, yeah, it should probably be edge. And I think it'll be Aiden Hutchinson will be the defensive rookie of the year. And I'm not going to say Thibodeau, although I definitely think he could be, because you said him. But again, like we said when we were talking about the rookies and talking about best situations, I think he will be the most impactful player year one of any of the defense. Him or Thibodeau. I just think he went into a perfect system. And I think he's a guy who will be put in many one-on-ones, and will just win all day. And I think he'll be a huge reason why the Lions could kind of take it far in the playoff, or not in the playoffs, excuse me, but be a surprising team and be a team who maybe wins 6-7 games next year. I'm a massive fan of the Aiden Hutchinson selection. I think he will be an absolute monster.
Honorable mention for my defensive rookie of the year is Kyle Hamilton, because I think he's going to be really nice.
Kyle Hamilton, definitely. But Dylan, we'll quickly move on to a team we talked about. When you talked about Olave in your worst situation, we're going to move to the Saints. And I'll never forget, they kind of signed Matthew. I was like, I'll never forget. I commented on whatever Instagram, ESPN, whatever post they had about it, saying, why would Tyrann Mathieu sign with the Saints? Just why I didn't get it. I was like, why would you go from the Chiefs to the Saints? They're not going to be a playoff team. I didn't get it. I just didn't get it.
I found it funny because him and Dan Sorensen always had a horrible relationship as a safety core. Now they're going to go back there and do the same thing.
Yeah. And all right. But then they got Jarvis Landry, and I was like, oh, yeah. They have Olave. And then I remembered, Michael Thomas is coming back. And I remembered Kamara might be coming back. Yeah. And I was like, wow, this offense is going to be very good. Like, this receiving core has flipped from nothing to something quickly. Olave, fantastic. I think even Marcus Callaway is very good. Michael Thomas, obviously, and Jarvis Landry. I think all of the receivers offer a ton to an offense. So I think the Saints are there, and I wouldn't be surprised if they make the playoffs. I think they're significantly now better than the Panthers. Obviously, Tampa Bay, I think, are still better than them. But I'm just a huge. Why am I forgetting the other team in their division? It's Atlanta, excuse me. And Atlanta. Although Atlanta, I do think as well, have a roster that can maybe make some noise. And Dylan, I don't think you think that because of Mariota, but
I don't dislike Mariota. I just don't think he's able to take a team anywhere.
I just think that the Saints are a playoff team, and I think what they've built has shown that. I think it all depends on the coaching.
I think that's where I'm going to go. It all depends on the coaching, and bringing in Honey Badger is massive. And bringing in Michael Thomas again and Chris Olave, massive. Trevor Penning, even though I don't love him, I think they needed to replace Teron Armstead, and that's the best option they could have had. It's all on the coaching. And I like Dennis Allen. I think he did a very good job in coaching up that defense, but he needs to be able to handle an offense with Jameis Winston. And Jameis Winston, we saw him in Tampa Bay with Todd Bowles, not Todd Bowles. Who is their coach? It was before Arians.
Who, the Bucks?
Bucks. It was
wasn't Todd Bowles. It was
no, Todd Bowles is the coach now.
What's his name? I forgot.
It was a defensive coach.
Yeah. I'm forgetting his name.
An old guy.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
I'm blanking. Please comment because I hate when I forget this type of thing. But we saw him, and he was a 30-touchdown, 30-interception quarterback. He went to New Orleans. Sean Payton helped him refine his game, and then he went to being a more solid quarterback. I still don't think he was great by any means, but he was a more solid quarterback, a quarterback that was able to win games without throwing 45 interceptions. This year, Dennis Allen, defensive guru. I don't know who they brought in as an offensive coordinator. I don't know if they kept their offensive coordinator, but
it was Dirk Koetter.
Dirk Cutter. That's the answer. Yeah.
Cutter, right?
Yeah. And
because I thought it was Lovie Smith, but I remember Lovie Smith was before. It was
Dirk Cutter, yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Jameis Winston, Dennis Allen's the match made that we want. But if Alvin Kamara is good, if Michael Thomas plays, Jarvis Landry's fine, Chris Olave does what Chris Olave does, Marquez Callaway catches everything within a 15-mile radius of him again, I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be a team that can contend and probably make the playoffs in the weak conference.
Right. Yeah, I that's what I think. And I think definitely the conference is what comes into play here is if this conference was better, then I don't think they would be able to. And I think it all lies on the shoulder of Jameson Williams, but I think he's proven.
Chris Olave.
What?
Jameis Winston. You said Jameson Williams.
I said, oh, Jesus Christ. Jameson Winston. I literally, this is happening to me more and more. I'm too young to be losing my memory, but, I think it all lays on the shoulder of Jameson Winston because Jameis Winston, Jesus Christ, Jameis Winston. Because I think the thing is, and like you, Dylan, is he going to be able to refine that touchdown to interception ratio? Can he throw 30 touchdowns and 10 picks? 30 touchdowns and 50, where is he going to max out? Because I think if he goes over 15, 17, then it gets to that point where the amount of touchdowns he throws just doesn't really matter because you're turning it over that much.
Yeah.
But I'm a massive, I just really think the Saints, all of a sudden, I'm pretty sure I texted in our group chat. I was like, guys, the Saints have made a very good team out of kind of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's kind of three players and they're kind of back in it. And again, we're still not sure about Michael Thomas or Kamara. I think they're back, but really I've heard nothing.
Kamara should be back.
Kamara, but
we have no idea.
Literally no idea on Michael Thomas. I haven't heard anything since last offseason. This is what I hate so much about the NFL. Like Michael Thomas was a fantastic receiver and just is gone. Like just is gone.
Yeah, he was the best receiver in the league.
Yeah, and he's just completely gone. But if he's back, obviously massive impact player. But Dylan, we're gonna move into and rekindle a certain player you talked about on your tier list, and that is Trey Lance. When you look at him, just putting down timestamps here. When you look at him going into year 2, how are you previewing him? Do you think he make an impact? Because George Kittle said, and this is not verbatim, basically the difference between in OTAs this year and last year's OTAs is massive, and he's very, very excited. Are you excited along with him, Dylan?
I am conflicted.
Okay.
I am conflicted because I think Jimmy Garoppolo deserves to be a starter still.
Yeah, right.
And I'm conflicted because I never really loved Trey Lance coming out of college. And I know he has that boom potential, and I know if they had that type of guy in that championship game against the Rams, they would have won it. But I don't know why they have to blow up the quarterback situation when they made a championship game. I don't know why they have to, if Deebo Samuel left, it's a different story. But Deebo Samuel's still there. They still have the same exact offense they had last year minus an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, right.
And I don't think they need to it sucks for Trey Lance because they took him at the 3. But if I'm the San Francisco 49ers, I'm running it back.
Yeah. No, okay, sorry. What am I saying? Yeah, no, I think Trey Lance 100% deserves to be the starter. I think
Why?
because Dylan, this guy can be a top 5 Mahomes, Josh Allen like quarterback if he pans out. He's in a perfect coaching system. He sat behind for a year. We saw him have explosive plays last year during the offseason, during preseason. I think if George Kittle is saying, and I don't think George Kittle would say this because we know the connection him and Jimmy Garoppolo have. I think if George Kittle's saying Trey Lance looks better, looks more refined, I'm trusting him. And I think Trey Lance has a massive upside. He has size, he has mobility, he has arguably just as strong of an arm as any other quarterback in the league. Again, he's kind of like a slightly better Malik Willis in terms of just, being a volatile quarterback. You're not sure what you're getting. I think Trey Lance, we could see him being a completely different quarterback, a much more mature quarterback. And I'm taking that every single day, especially with a team with the 49ers where, let's be honest, you're really not going to make it as far as you did last year. I guess you're in the NFC, so it's much easier.
I think the entire NFC got worse. Yeah. I think every team in the NFC got worse, except for the Bucs.
And the Eagles.
Yeah, well, all the teams that were really competing, they got worse.
Yeah.
So,
and the Rams didn't get worse.
I think the Rams got worse.
How so? Oh, Von Miller.
They lost Von Miller. They lost OBJ. They lost Darius Williams. They lost.
Well, we don't know if they lost OBJ. I'm still so confused on.
They lost Sebastian Joseph Day.
Yeah.
Aaron Donald still throwing retirement hints in the air. That's probably nothing though. Yeah. And they lost O'Connell as an offensive coordinator. They lost. And they added the shell of Bobby Wagner and Allen Robinson.
Yeah. I do think Bobby Wagner was a good signing though.
It was I need to see the price again, but
it was $340, I think.
Maybe. For him, that's a deal for him, but I don't think he's going to be all that impactful for them.
Yeah. Sorry, but continue with your Trey Lance.
Point being, Trey Lance, if he is the minus Trey Lance that I think we have the potential to see if he goes in, they throw him in this season, starts in week 1. We see the Trey Lance that could be erratic, that could lose games.
It was a 5-year, $50 million. I forgot.
Yeah, that's too much. But
10 a year isn't bad.
10 a year, but Bobby Wagner doesn't have 2 more years than him. I don't think he has 5. Yeah. But you see Trey Lance go in and you see how he plays at North Dakota State. He puts that same performance, that type of play in, and I'm not saying he will because he's definitely matured and he's definitely gotten better over the course of the NFL season. But you see that unrefined way of his game, and you see the worst case scenario that might happen. This team might not make the playoffs. But Jimmy Garoppolo, you see Jimmy Garoppolo, you're not going to get that worst case scenario. And if you have Jimmy Garoppolo, I think you get right back to where you were and you might win the whole thing. I think it sucks for Trey Lance and it sucks for the organization. They might have to start Lance, and I think they're going to start Lance because you draft a kid at 3 overall, you're not going to have him sitting under Jimmy Garoppolo for 2 years. You see the Packers getting slaughtered for that, for doing it with Aaron Rodgers. They're not going to do that. But right. I think the best way to move forward, or at least the most safe way to move forward, is to keep everything how it was because they were good.
Right.
But Trey Lance, he can be excellent. And yeah. I think this is where our views divide as quarterbacks, as far as quarterbacks go. I'd rather have a guy that I know what he's going to give me. I'd rather have a guy that I know what he's going to give me. I don't want to have a guy that can just I don't want that 30-30.
Yeah. But I think it depends on the situation. Like, yeah, if you're the Bucs, if you're a contender, you want the proven guy. But I think the 49ers are in a weird transitional period. No, I know, but they're in a weird transitional
But that's only because of Trey Lance. If they didn't have Trey Lance right here, they wouldn't be in transition. They'd be pushing for it.
But I think Trey Lance poses a ton of upside, and I think it's just something you can't let sit another year because then he just turns into Jordan Love.
And if I'm the 49ers, I start Trey Lance. But it's just a terrible situation to be in for Garoppolo and for Trey Lance because you might see some stigma for Lance if he starts off the season and they go 0-2.
Right.
They say, this isn't working. Garoppolo, get in.
But who knows if they're still holding on to Garoppolo at the end of this, by this time.
No one's going to buy Garoppolo. No one's going to do that because the only team that's looking at him is the Panthers, who I think are going to do Mayfield before they do him.
And they have Matt Corral.
Yeah. So I think Garoppolo stays. I think he's fine with sitting a couple of games behind Lance, maybe preying on his downfall, maybe mentoring him. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, Dylan, we will move on to our next topic where we're going to the NFC East, my team's division, very close to home for you, Dylan. Give me a preview. Who's winning it? Why is it more interesting? Obviously, the Eagles are much better. We haven't seen a team win it back-to-back years in a very long time. What are you thinking when it comes to the NFC East?
I think roster-wise, and this is tough, because the Eagles might have the best roster in the division, and they definitely have a better coach than Mike McCarthy.
I don't know if I think they do have the best roster.
I think they do have the best roster in the division, just front to back. The defensive line in the trenches, they're definitely superior to the Cowboys. But I think in terms of impact players, and A.J. Brown might change this a bit, but Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Ezekiel Elliott, Trayvon Diggs, Micah Parsons, that those 5 guys that'll change the game for the Cowboys is better than the 5 that the Eagles can employ. I think Dak Prescott versus Jalen Hurts is a big difference, and Jalen Hurts might jump, and he might be excellent.
I'm a big fan of Jalen Hurts.
I like Jalen Hurts to an extent. I think he definitely needs to refine his accuracy. If he doesn't, he'll never be successful.
So, sorry, you're saying Cowboys are the team?
I just think the Cowboys have the better impact players, and in terms of how you build a roster, the Eagles have a better roster composition. They have a better coaching staff, but I just think that bam. That impact, that Micah Parsons,
I think they do now have on the defensive line. If you're talking about that bam, I think Nakobe Dean, Jordan Davis can be that.
Nakobe Dean,
Josh Sweat.
You got to remember Nakobe Dean filled at 85 or wherever.
Yeah, but that's because of a shoulder injury that was never an issue before.
But who knows? It might be. If he fell that far, it's definitely a problem.
I mean, he might not even be starting, so we'll see that. But I'm going to say this right now, and this may very, very much be a hot take. So bear with me. I don't think someone could 100% convince me right now, or I can't be 100% convinced I can be convinced in taking Jalen Hurts over Dak Prescott right now.
Oh, I've seen people do that, and I don't hate that, but I just think Dak Prescott's proven year in, year out.
But he hasn't, Dylan.
Yes, he has.
He's choked in the playoffs.
He's choked in the playoffs, but Jalen Hurts in the playoffs was disgustingly bad.
But Jalen Hurts was also playing in the playoffs. Jalen Hurts was also playing. What are you talking about? Oh,
they got killed by the Eagles.
He's on the Eagles.
Killed by the Bucs. Sorry.
I thought
He got killed in the playoffs.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm
apologies for that.
Wait, I'm completely lost. Wait, but Washington played them last year. Oh, the Eagles. Oh, excuse me. Eagles played them this year. I blew my memory. Oh, right. Okay. But I do think looking at the Bucs team this year, there's a quite significant, or looking at the Bucs last year, there's a quite significant answer as to why. Should the Eagles really have been in the playoffs last year? And I think looking at the team he has now this year, I think A.J. Brown is 100%. I think A.J. Brown's a fantastic fit in Philadelphia.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that was such a smart deal. And then you get Devontae Smith. You obviously have Jalen Reagor, who knows, maybe one season he decides to show up and play. Quez Watkins, I think you have good depth. I think we've seen a lot of these NFC teams, and I think we've seen the Cowboys receiver core get worse. Although I absolutely love Jalen Tolbert, who they drafted.
I love James Washington.
James Washington, I think, was really good. So I do think, again, weighing James Washington, Jalen Tolbert, and Amari Cooper, take that as you will. But I do think
Cedric Wilson.
Okay, well that's not as. But I think losing Amari, it's so funny because Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb is so much more scary than when you take Amari Cooper out, it loses so much of that intimidation that they had.
Yeah.
And is Amari Cooper that much of an impact? I don't think he is, but I do think that this is still a very good Cowboys team. And again, Zeke is great on his day. I think Dak Prescott we know is good, but Dak Prescott to me right now isn't in that elite category. I think he can be there. I think Dak Prescott has shown he can be there. I think Dak Prescott can win games. And then the defense to me still poses a little bit of questions in terms of the interior of that defensive line. But obviously Micah Parsons is, they hit an absolute, they hit 1,900 home runs with that pick. I mean, great pick. And then the cornerback room isn't fantastic. And Dylan, my opinion on Trayvon Diggs. And then obviously their second guy is Kelvin Joseph, who really hasn't done much. Second-year player.
Second guy, I believe, right? Yeah, it might be Kelvin Joseph, but he's not bad.
But I haven't seen really anything from him. So
now,
my pick is the Eagles for this division.
All right.
And I think the Giants could very well beat the Cowboys and be second place.
I just think the Cowboys, they have the star power. And I'm big on star power. I think they have Dak Prescott, who I think is a proven elite quarterback. And you might say he's not because he's choked in the playoffs, but in the regular season, he's been a top 10 quarterback for years. Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard is a top-tier backfield. And Miles Sanders doesn't touch that.
Well, Miles Sanders was close to, and then last year, just nothing.
Yeah.
And Saquon back with the Giants. Again, we're not talking about Washington at all. I think Washington still
has one of the best defensive lines in football.
Yeah, I think it's definitely gone from one of the worst divisions to now all four teams.
All four teams can be good, but all four teams can also fail. It's a very,
and
very
I would definitely agree. I think the two teams that are most likely to fail are Washington and the Giants.
Yeah. With Dallas, and the final point I'm going to make, they've scored the most points last season of any team. They scored the most points in the league, and that's on offense. That's not even including the defensive points they scored, which was a lot. And I think people they're saying the offense is the concern because the defense was always excellent last year. They did a great job. Michael Parsons was incredible. Trayvon Diggs did his job, which was to pick the ball. DeMonte Casey was great, but they lost him. Van Der Esch, they also lost him, but Randy Gregory, that's also a loss that they're going to feel. Wow, they lost a lot of guys.
Yeah, they did. It's definitely tough being on a 3-week break. That's why we're a little rusty for getting stuff.
Yeah, but either way, though, I think the offense was the top scoring offense in the league, and they didn't lose much on the offense. They lost Amari Cooper, who was pretty much a third of Amari Cooper last year. Yeah, and they lost Cedric Wilson, who was good last year. But the offensive line stayed the same. The offensive system stays the same. I think they run it back. I don't see a reason as to why they would fail.
Okay,
I think where the Eagles can.
Give me your final standings predictions. Who gets first, who gets second, who gets third?
It's going to go Cowboys, Eagles, Commanders, Giants. And I hate to say that because I think no, it's tough for me because I think the Giants have the boom or bust potential. Right. And I think the Commanders have at least 6 wins this season. I don't think they go any worse than that. Yeah. I'm going to say the Giants just because I do believe in Kayvon Thibodeau, Evan Neal, and I do have some belief in Daniel Jones still at this point, and I like Brian Daboll. I'll say the Giants third. Okay.
I think Eagles get first. I think the Giants will be second. I think the Cowboys will be third. And I think Washington will be fourth.
It's respectable. I just think it's hard to put a team with Michael Parsons, Trayvon Diggs, Dak Prescott.
You know what? Okay, I'm not. I'm going to put Cowboys second. I think I have to. Even saying it, I can't say with it because I can already hear the comments. Yeah, but I do think the Giants can play upsetter, and I think the Giants could be an underrated team this year. I think we could see 7+ wins from them. Again, this is the thing, and this is where I think we take the Cowboys over them is because it's trusting Daniel Jones, where Dak Prescott, as much as I do think he's overrated, you know, he's proven he can win games. So that's where I definitely would kind of pump the brakes in terms of taking the Giants over the Cowboys. But I think it'll be close. I think it'll very much be close. And I think if anything, it'll be a game that splits. I think it'll be a very, very close division. Like I think the winner will have no more than 9-10 wins, although it is the NFC. So you never know. Yeah. But Dylan, let's move on now to another division. And that is I don't know what I just did. The AFC North. Yeah. Arguably the best division in football.
AFC West, I would say, is the best.
But I think one of them. It's, crazy to me that they're both in the AFC. Just like I did with the last one. Give me a preview of this division going into this year.
I think the Cincinnati Bengals right now are the best team in football. I think they constructed their roster exactly how they needed to.
God, say that 2 years ago. Holy.
Yeah. I think they constructed their roster so that they made the Super Bowl. They kept everyone except for CJ Uzomah, who they got Hayden Hurst for, so I don't think it's really that big of a deal. And they fixed the offensive line, which was the reason they didn't win the whole thing. So they've completely revamped the offensive line. I think Lyle Collins is going to be incredible for them. Ted Karras, I'm not so high on him, but he's at least better.
They invested in the line.
They invested in the line.
Kappa, great signing.
Alex Kappa is going to be incredible for them as well. And I think it's going to be a big impact on Joe Mixon. And I think Lyle Collins is going to be Joe Burrow's insurance policy, along with Jonah Williams, who I do like Jonah Williams. Mm-hmm. So I think those guys pretty much just revamped the entire line. Losing Ogunjobi is not a massive deal, but it's still something to keep an eye on. And the Jesse Bates contract situation, he has said not to want to play on the franchise tag. I'm sure they'll figure that out. But if they don't, they still have Daxton Hill.
Yeah. Insurance policy for Jesse Bates. I agree. I think
they made the Super Bowl last year, and they improved their team. They had close to nothing lost, and they had a massive impact.
I am shivering in my boots if I'm, thinking about Jamar Chase year 2, Joe Burrow year 3. I mean, Jesus Christ, like that's going to be scary. But then you look at the Ravens; they arguably had the best first round. Getting Tyler Lynn, they got the only 2 generational players in the draft. Players we have not seen come out of college at their position, players we've only seen come out once in the past 15 years out of their position. And people are talking about the Tyler Linderbaum isn't generational. Will his impact of being generational because he's a center be as robust as other people? No. But I think that his ability, like he fits absolutely perfectly with what you're going to be doing with Lamar Jackson. Yes. You bring J.K. Dobbins back, you're running him behind Linderbaum. Strong, low to the ground. I'm an absolute massive, massive fan. Excuse me, you can hear the car honking.
We're not going to see much of him this season, maybe none of him at all. But they also got a top 10 prospect from earlier in the draft process, and that's Ojabo.
Right, and Ojabo, excuse me, completely. You fill that hole of losing Judon.
Yeah, that's exactly what Ojabo is. And
like literally, in looking at player comparisons, exactly what he is, versatile. I think honestly will translate more to an outside linebacker at the next level.
We will see where that goes. We're not going to see much of him this year, but I think Baltimore, they're healthy. Marcus Peters is back. They brought in Marcus Williams as a safety, which is an underrated move.
I mean, here's their issue.
Here's their issue. They've got an excellent team all around, but they have no toys for the quarterback to play with other than Andrews. They've got nothing.
You know me, Dylan Rashad Bateman. I think.
Do you know who their wide receiver 2 is right now?
Devin Duvernay.
Correct answer is Devin Duvernay.
I got it.
And their wide receiver 3 is James Prochet, I believe.
Oh, no. I feel like they have another receiver.
They don't. They'll all send
Sammy Watkins, right? I was going to say Sammy Watkins.
They are.
Oh, no. What's his name? The Wallace. What's his first name?
Tylan Wallace.
Who's good. Tylan Wallace is a good receiver.
He can be.
Yeah.
He's definitely not good enough to be a team's wide receiver 2. But they are stretched thin in that category. But everywhere else, I think that team is capable of being a Super Bowl team.
Yeah.
So if we see them bring in Odell Beckham or Julio Jones, not Julio Jones, but if we see them bring in someone that can just catch the ball, maybe that's scary. Like even if like an undrafted free agent starts to pop out for them, like they just need something in that room.
And you guys know, me. I think Bateman can be that guy, and I think he showed flashes.
Bateman can be the one.
Yeah.
And if he ends up being excellent, he ends up being excellent. But Devin Duvernay as a 2 is not going to cut it.
Yeah, no, right. Because the Marquise Brown trade, I think
even if Bateman ends up being a guy like DK Metcalf, it's not going to matter if your 2 is Devin Duvernay.
Yeah.
But they have Mark Andrews.
There's still Odell Beckham's out there. There's still some guys out there. So we'll see. But
keep an eye out.
Let's look at the final standings predictions for them. Because I think the Browns, we know what they are. So we know
final standings prediction, and this is tough for me to. This is tough for me to do because I think all 4
and Steelers teams, we know.
I think we don't really know for them because all 4 teams can have winning records, but all 4 teams won't. So I'm gonna go Bengals first, Ravens second. I'm going to go Bengals first, Ravens second, Browns third, Steelers fourth. I'm going to go Steelers this is horrible. This is horrible because the Browns could end up being the best team in the league if Deshaun Watson is how he was in 2020. But he might not play. He might be suspended. He might be worse. And they also have a couple of holes on the defense that they do need to address, specifically linebacker. But I don't think Pittsburgh will come fourth in this division because they had
Pittsburgh, I think, to me, are the definitive 4. I'll see. You want me to say mine?
Yeah, please do.
You know what? I was going to put the Browns 1. I think, Deshaun not playing until week 4 will not be that. I think the Bengals will be 1. I think the Browns will be 2. I think the Ravens will be 3. That being said, I think all 3 teams will make the playoffs. But again, it's the AFC, so.
Here's where I have an issue. The Steelers aren't going to come in 4th. They're not going to come in 1st either, though, because this team won, I think, 10 games last season with Ben Roethlisberger. And no matter who starts, if it's Trubisky or if it's Pickett, they're going to be better than last year's Ben Roethlisberger. And they got a lot better everywhere else.
Right.
They got a better receiving core now, even though they lost Juju Smith-Schuster. They got Calvin Austin and George Pickens in the draft. They got Miles Jack as a linebacker, Brian Flores as a defensive assistant. Mm-hmm. They added who else in the draft? Kenny Pickett, obviously, and Miles Jack as a linebacker. I think I covered pretty much all of it. Offensive line is still a problem for them, but I don't think they're going to be able to come in last. I think the Ravens could come in last. I think the Browns can come in last. I don't think they can come in last. So I'm going to say, and this is hard for me to do because I think the Ravens could also be they can win the Super Bowl. That team is that good. This division is that good. It's going to be Bengals, Browns, Steelers, Ravens. But I think the Ravens could absolutely. I think all 4 can make the playoffs.
Yeah. It's a tough one. It's a tough division. It's definitely a tough division, but I think we'll stand by those standings. All right, Dylan, we're going to go into our last segment. If anyone is still watching, although I'm sure this will be on TikTok somewhere. When you look at when you look at, we're going to do some quarterback, when you just blank at the end.
Yeah.
We're going to give some quarterback matchups, some rookies, some not guys, and just, kind of, you're going to give me who you think's winning the matchup. We'll rotate off. We have about 6 matchups here. Carson Wentz against Sam Howell in Washington. Who wins the matchup? Not saying who's week 1, who just wins that matchup this year.
We're gonna have to go with the beef eater. It's Carson Wentz.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. I've said Jesus Christ too much. Excuse me. Okay.
How about Trubisky and Pickett?
See, this is why I'm liking this, because you guys all talked about it. I think Pickett wins it. And again, I wasn't a fan of him taking that 20. I don't think he was a first-round guy, but I think Pickett wins it because I think if there was a situation for him to be put in, and I think there were a couple. I think the Steelers were one of those teams that were ideal to be put in. Who wins in Corral versus Darnold?
I'm gonna go Corral. I can't say Darnold. I can't say Darnold. There's just too many problems with him. I don't think he can be fixed. Ritter, Mariota.
Ooh. I think Mariota keeps a job the whole year. I think Ritter gets some time, but I think Ritter keeps the job.
I think we're seeing a Carson, a Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance from last season type.
Yeah, but I think the similarity between Ritter and Mariota is very, very, very uncanny. Like they're, you look coming out of college, coming out of Cincinnati, Ritter was a Mariota kind of guy. Like you giving him that kind of scheme fit. But I do think it'll be Mariota. I wouldn't be surprised if it is Ritter. Last one, and we're all rookies, but we talked about this. Jimmy G versus Trey Lance. And do not give me your who you want. Who will win the battle?
The winner of the battle, and this is due to organizational need, not based on what is best for the team to win. It's based on best for marketing, best for everything, best for the guys in question. It's best to let Jimmy G walk, and it's best to let Trey Lance be the starting quarterback.
All right, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Well, that was all we have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching, listening, tuning in. Make sure you guys subscribe, drop a like, give us 5 stars if you're listening to us over on Spotify. This was Kean McDermott and Dylan Shalom. Excuse our rustiness. It's been a couple weeks. Go check out our Kenny Pickett video, and make sure you guys stay tuned on the channel throughout the obviously the summer. Buster Boom's coming soon. I'm gonna say we preview every team. We're not gonna get to every team. We try to preview every team for next season. So make sure you guys do stay tuned for that. That's gonna be very, very exciting. And yeah, we're really locking in for the summer. We're back. We're posting videos. Clips of this podcast will be up on TikTok, Instagram. So make sure you guys go follow us. The link to all of the social media is in our bio. And as well, comment. We always love to talk to you guys. You can also message us over on Instagram and TikTok if you have any other pressing needs. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. We'll see you next time.